Hello everyone, and welcome to Kite String Reviews. My name is Hayden Davison, and this is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Hi-ho! Hi-ho! For most of my life, I believed that Snow White was the first ever animated film, but that's not quite true. While it is the first animated feature film in English, the very first in any language was an Argentine film titled El Apostol. Not much is known about the film, and sorry if I really botched the way that's pronounced. Not much is known about the film, as all copies of it were destroyed in a fire. Though not the exact triumph of cinema I thought it was, Snow White is definitely a major milestone in movie history. When in 1934, Walt Disney announced that his production house was going to be making its very first feature-length animated film, industry insiders began referring to the project as Disney's Folly. But in 1937, Walt and Company proved them all wrong when Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs released to both financial and critical success, beginning almost a century of on-screen animated magic. Disney, who had been known up to this point for his animated short series featuring our now world-famous mouse and the Silly Symphonies brand, believed that his team could produce his feature film for only $250,000 American. This was a gross underestimation. When all things were said and done, the project cost a whopping $1,488,422.74, and this is in 1930s dollars, not to mention a mortgage on Walt's house. A lot was riding on the success of the film, and so Mr. Disney needed to make sure everything was just right. Initially, the film focused heavily on the dwarves as a source for much of the drive of the plot. Having not been given names in the original Grimm's fairy tale that the movie is based on, Walt wanted the seven dwarves to be given names that encapsulated their main personality trait. As many as 50 names or personalities were in the running, including the names Hickey, Puffy, and Shorty. Hickey and Puffy, though I hate them as names for the dwarves, could have been made into distinct traits. Sure, fine, whatever. But Short is the one thing a dwarf has to be. Were they gonna make one of the dwarves even shorter? Or even smaller than the rest of the dwarves? Obviously they didn't choose it, but even in thinking about it, it doesn't really feel like they did think about it. Anyway, eventually the team settled on the names that we all know and love. It soon became apparent to Disney that the heavy focus on the dwarves made the film too jokey, and he began to worry that the film wouldn't be taken seriously. So revisions were made. Whole scenes of the dwarves that had been animated already were cut, including this song about eating soup.
With a spoon, with a bowl, with the music in your soul, you can cheer things up with the zup, zup, zup of the music in your soup.
More emphasis was placed on the title character and her relationship with her evil stepmother, and the film we now know was born. The film released to critical and financial success. Disney's gamble had paid off. The film grossed $7,846,000 by the end of its original run and netted Disney a Special Academy Award in 1939, presented by the one and only Shirley Temple.
I'm sure the boys and girls in the whole world are going to be very happy when they find out that the daddy of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Ferdinand, Mickey Mouse, and all the others, is going to get this beautiful statue. Isn't it bright and shiny?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Aren't you proud of it, Mr. Disney?
Well, I'm so proud I think I'll bust.
Snow White's voice was provided by a young, then unknown actress by the name of Adriana Caselotti. I've heard a lot of rumors about the contract that Caselotti signed over the years, and they all say the same variation of this. Disney signed her to an exclusive contract, and then never used her again because he wanted Snow White's voice to remain so distinct. The only thing I could find definitively on this subject was that in 1938, Jack Benny asked Walt if he could use Caselotti on his radio show, and his response was no. He didn't want to reveal the woman behind Snow White. This could be a reflection of Disney's early philosophy on crediting voice actors, which was that he didn't, not wanting to break the illusion that the characters were real. Whatever the reason, we do know that she had two smaller roles after this one, a spoken line in The Wizard of Oz, and the other is the singer in Martini's Bar in It's a Wonderful Life. Both of these were staples of my childhood. Snow White holds a special spot in my heart as well. Not only was I unable to say the name of the movie as a kid, referring to it as Snow White and the 6'7" Snorks, because these are obviously the same as these, but during its 1993 re-release, my family took me to the theater for the very first time. Though I don't remember it, what I do know is that as long as I can remember, the theater has always felt very special to me. And during the age of the coronavirus, going to the theater is one of the things that my wife and I miss the most. When my wife Lydia and I were deciding when to watch Snow White, we found ourselves rescheduling quite a bit. Though the movie is only 83 minutes long, I was really worried I was going to find it boring and fall asleep because I'm an old man now. Lydia was putting it off for another reason. She does not like Snow White's voice. It weirds her out. There was even a time we waited 2 hours so we could meet Rapunzel in Disney World, but the line was both for Rapunzel and Snow White, and my wife begged me to skip Snow and just take a picture with Rapunzel. But I made her take a picture with both because I waited 2 hours, dang it, and we were gonna get all we could out of that experience. With that in mind, Lydia made a very similar sound to bleh when Snow first spoke in the movie. We were not off to a great start. The movie opens in a very familiar fashion, the opening of a storybook. Something we will see a couple more times as we watch through all the Disney movies. Though it has probably been done to death, I still find it charming as an opening. In some ways, I feel like the opening Star Wars scroll was born from this trope. Then we are introduced to the characters that set the conflict of the film into motion. The vainly murderous queen, Snow White, the huntsman,
Hunt, he's the huntsman!
Wrong huntsman, and Prince Charming, whose only role in the movie is to be pretty and kiss the girl an hour and 20 minutes later. Also, as Liddy pointed out, he tooth kisses this bird. The huntsman is sent by the queen to kill Snow and put her heart in a box because she refuses to be the second prettiest woman in the world. The huntsman, overwhelmed with emotion, can't do it, and Snow runs into the forest to be greeted by the same horrors as the children from Babes in Toyland.
This is a forest of no return. This is a forest of no return.
She then finds a dirty house and cleans it with the animals. I found myself really impressed with the details of the house and the distinct old-world German feel that they achieved. It was at this point where I think the movie really picks up its pace. The classic 1930s slapstick that you see in the animal characters and Soothe the Dwarves really holds up well. I also found myself getting really sad for this turtle that keeps getting left behind, but he never let that get him down, and that's why he's the hero of the story. Soon, Snow falls asleep in the house, and the dwarves begin to return from the mine singing what is probably the most iconic song from the movie, Hi-Ho. One of the moments that I think really plays that line of really clever and really stupid that never fails to make me laugh is during the song where Dopey almost takes the key home, but he remembers to put it back at the last second, right next to the door that it unlocks. This is then followed by some beautifully done animation as they march home. I'm not an artist by any means, but I cannot imagine these shadows or water were easy to animate. The dwarves come home to find a clean house and assume, like any rational person would, that there's a monster or dirty work afoot. The dwarves really are the best part of this movie, and they really carry the film. In a film made entirely of characters named for their primary traits, these particular 7 steal the show. Snow White is found sleeping spread out across multiple of the beds, and upon waking up guesses each of the dwarves' names. All the dwarves are charmed, except for Grumpy, who rightfully so is worried about the evil queen. The film feels very similar to a scene in the movie 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, a musical from the 50s with a very similar premise. 7 unkempt woodsmen being whipped into shape by a single woman. Except in 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, all of the brothers are grumpy. The joke is very much the same, however. Men alone do not know how to bathe, and they don't really bathe. In 7 Dwarfs, this leads to a fun slapstick song.
Pick up the salt, now don't try to bluff. Work up a leather, and when you got enough, get your hands full of water. You snort, and you snuff, and go...
Where in 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, it leads to marital strife.
Oh! What'd you do that for?
You. All of you falling on the food that way. Haven't you any decency to wait for grace?
Huh? Ah.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
What's the trouble?
Look at your brothers.
The fiddles must be good.
All right. If you're gonna act like hogs, you can eat like hogs.
You tell him, Millie. While the dwarves and Snow are laughing and having a generally good time, except for Grumpy, the queen learns that Snow is still alive, and so she sets out to kill her herself. the Queen uses a hybrid magic and science alchemaic approach with beakers and tubes that I feel like I don't see much in cartoons and movies anymore. And I think it's pretty fun. She creates the poison apple and births the dead meat. When the Queen, now disguised as the old hag, gets into the boat for the first time, I notice something. Objects that are intended to move stand out from the background, like this door a little later on. This is because of the animation process used, called cell animation. The characters in the scenery are drawn separately and overlaid on top of each other. A similar idea is often used with a similar effect in PS1 games such as Resident Evil or Final Fantasy. The dwarves all warn Snow not to talk to strangers as they leave for the mines the next day, which of course, knowing that the evil queen wants her dead and will try to kill her again if she ever finds out she's alive, she totally ignores the advice and eats a magic wishing apple from some strange old woman wandering in the woods. Surprise, surprise, it's poison. The dwarves chase the old woman after being warned by the animals all the way to the edge of a cliff. The queen tries to murder them all using some rudimentary lever-based physics and a boulder only to be struck by lightning, thrown off a cliff, and eaten by vultures. Disney super kills her on the same level that Russian nobility killed Rasputin, namely a lot of poison, 3 gunshot wounds, and a drowning just in case. The movie then decides to use text to give us detail on how the dwarves honored Snow in death. Though charming at the beginning, it feels really awkward here. It's almost as if they knew they wanted the glass coffin and everybody looking at Snow, but they weren't sure how to animate the construction in a way that would be appealing to children. The scenes with the mourning dwarves are sufficiently sad, and you get the feeling that they hold themselves responsible for her death. The glass coffin is placed in a clearing, and our prince from the beginning returns to kiss Snow and wake her up. The dwarves and the animals rejoice as Snow and the prince ride off into the sunset to live in a golden castle in the clouds, apparently. The whole scene makes me wonder if Snow is actually dead and Prince Charming is a psychopath, which is a being who escorts souls into the afterlife, and he's using the likeness of the man that she loved to ease her transition into death. We see the final page. I got dark there for a second. Anyway, we see the final text as a page, and they lived happily ever after. The storybook closes, and the movie ends. Overall, my wife and I actually really enjoyed the film. The story is very basic, and sometimes the movement of the human characters feels a little odd and creepy to me due to the rotoscoping used, but the characters, jokes, and songs are all timeless and made us laugh and want to sing along. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs gets a solid 3 kites out of 5. The charm and the animation of the songs and the historical significance of the film make it well worth the 84 minutes it takes to watch.
Bunch of old nanny goats, you make me sick going.